Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome. So this is episode 4, spoiler discussion. We're actually doing it this time. If you guys watched the other video, I know I kind of gave a overview that the episode 3 and 4 was a little weird for us, but it is currently 3 in the morning my time, 4 o'clock in the morning Goss's time, and we just got finished watching episode 4 of Marvel's What If. And yeah, just I guess, Gus, I'll give it to you to kick it off. Basically, how did you feel about the episode?
Amazing. This is exactly what I wanted from a what if episode. I know Brawley is already going to be kicking me because he's going to say, "Oh, it's just like episode 1 where it's a retelling of the story." And I get, like, his gripes about those issues and stuff. But to me, like, I enjoy that they're doing a mixture of both and not just one thing or the other.
Hmm.
I really like that they're throwing in, we're showing you complete what ifs, but also we're also giving you, well, you guys are everybody that's watching this show is more than likely in tune with the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So they're giving those people also like a little a nod. Like, if you're, oh, you know about this, you've watched this movie, you like this character, okay, well, here's what would happen if something else happened differently. And I don't necessarily hate that. I think that that's a great way to incorporate things that we know about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and also by giving us fresh new takes on different stories and completely new stories, especially with episode 2. Um, so I really, really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was fantastic. Dude, I swear to God, it is like every single time that I've watched this episode or this series, every single episode, the animation just gets better and better and better and better, and it's insane. Like, the animation work that was done in this episode was crazy. It
Oh
was
yeah, yeah.
so fucking insane.
Yep.
Yep.
It was fucking insane. And literally, like, if you watch the first 3 episodes and compare it to this, like, there's not, like, the level up is crazy. I don't know what the deal was with this episode
I honestly
specifically,
think
but
it's the fact, like, if you go back and watch the Doctor Strange movie, it's like one of the, like, it's a spectacle. Like the amount of, like, imagery and setting that we're given with this, like, mystic arts fucking world transportation bullshit that they do, is just unreal. So I think they kind of knew going into this one that it needed to really capture that mystifying aspect of Doctor Strange in his life.
yeah, I
And
hard agree. I hard
yeah,
agree with
and
that.
and yeah, I think yeah, the animation got to shine a lot, like, really nicely in this one. And I also think it's because a good portion of it relied a lot on the same sort of, like, moments and the same sort of, like, um, places that they were experiencing, like being in the car and being in front of the hotel and also the stuff. So, like, the first half of the episode was just a huge, like, it was just so upsetting to see how he had to witness this. I'm trying to remember what movie it was, but there was a movie that was very similar to this, where this person kept going back trying to stop this person from dying, but, like, fate wouldn't allow it. Like, there would be something new to present itself to have them die no matter what. I know there was a movie like it, but I just can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
But yeah,
the animation for this episode was like absolutely fantastic. And honestly, being like, I think out of all, probably out of, and I mean, this is just me speaking here. This is a lot coming from a big biased perspective. I think Doctor Strange is probably one of the more interesting characters in the entire MCU right now. I think that the Doctor Strange movie was one of the ones that I enjoyed the most on a personal level. Not so much, it being the best out of, like, the MCU or whatever, as far as if you want to go critically or anything like that. But as a, like a personally to me, because I've said a bunch of times on this, every time we talk about an episode or a movie, you know, the metaphysical shit, the otherworldly shit, the different universal shit, that's my shit. So anything to do with Doctor Strange to me is fantastic. A lot of my favorite villains in the MCU comic book universe or any other form of media come from Doctor Strange's story. So to me, anything involving Doctor Strange is awesome, and being able to see Doctor Strange in a different perspective, other than being like, you know, the savior and the sorcerer supreme, we're kind of seeing him in more of a delusioned and I wouldn't say evil, even though it kind of puts it out that way.
He's just desperate. It's just desperate.
Yeah, it's a little. He definitely has lost it and has kind of. He just gets lost in. He loses focus of everything else outside of Christine. So it's very hard for him to like see the bigger picture. And to me, it's dope to see a different perspective of the character and what would happen to him if he took a route that's a little bit more.
You know, you know what it reminded me of?
Bad side.
It reminded me of like a NetherRealm, like Mortal Kombat sort of deal. Like
I kind of got that vibe too. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
lie.
like because we've seen it in Mortal Kombat games where like you have this like evil Liu Kang that's just like, you know, he ended up becoming like you know, I don't know, like some sort. He ended up becoming like Sorcerer Liu Kang from the underworld or whatever the fuck. And it kind of gives me that sort of sense of. I mean, that's basically What If in general, because Mortal Kombat has always done that sort of deal where like if you beat the game with Johnny Cage, then like you get an ending where Johnny Cage is now like, you know, better than Shao Kahn or something. You know, like they always have that sort of scenario play out.
It's very closely resembles the Flashpoint movie, Justice League, where, you know, Flash loses his mom and he goes back in time to try to save her, and when he saves her, he fucks everything.
Well, actually, no. Injustice is basically like this.
Yeah, like
Superman, Lois dies, and Superman basically. There's one Superman where Lois dies and he takes over the world and basically, you know, is an asshole. And then we have our Superman who Lois hasn't died yet, and he's fighting him. So like it's essentially that. And yeah, it's always cool to see, like, you know, I think an applaud, like something I want to applaud this episode and how they presented it was that this wasn't it wasn't a scenario where it's just like we're following this one altered choice in time and that's the end all be all. It was like the Ancient One actually separated Doctor Strange into two, like within the same timeline. He was two different Doctor Stranges, like one piece of each other, and I thought that was really unique and interesting because it's just different from what I'm used to with following storylines that are like, oh, we're just gonna have fun with this, like this is a what if scenario by itself, blah blah blah. And they could have taken the easy route, but instead they were like, oh, let's involve the Ancient One and let's have her split him at the last second, so then we have somebody who can have a combat, like, you know, have a battle at the end.
Yeah,
it's pretty dope. The way that they did this episode was amazing. I could talk, like, especially, and I really don't want to use like the last episode as like a crutch to like make this episode shine better, because I kind of want to, like, you know, look at every episode you know, differently and try to, you know, judge it based on that.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do so when you come from an episode like the last one, and then it's just like this one is like full throttle from the get-go. Like it's literally like the whole beginning portion of the episode was so like short-lived. It was like, okay, this happened, this is what's going on, and now we're here. And then like as soon as he made the decision and like started tampering and shit, and like it was literally like a full throttle all the way. Like I was literally sitting here like talking to my girlfriend, like, holy shit, like it's just happening over and over and over again. Like, oh, what the fuck? Like, it was the episode was fantastic. I loved it. It was so good.
Gotcha. Yeah, Brawl, you haven't said too much yet. What do you think?
Um. So yeah, the episode was really just used a lot of like time thing. Obviously, he was in possession of the time stone. This predates Thanos and stuff like that. Just kind of giving us a rehash of the beginning of his origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that it's good to see like the way the episode starts, or the subtitle to it was, "What if he lost his heart instead of his hands?"
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, "Is this literal? Like, did he like like maybe get a heart attack or
Uh-huh.
something? Like, how would he survive or
That would
whatever?"
have been funny if it was like his heart got fucking like pierced, but then like we had some ancient being show up and they were like, okay, you know what? We're not gonna, you're not gonna die yet, but we're gonna give you a replacement.
Right,
Fucking
because we never know with Doctor Strange, because that's the interest about his character. Or the interesting thing about his character is that a lot of things gonna happen like out of the he is the sorcerer of the mystic arts, so you could be literally talking to a zombie.
Mhm.
And so you have this episode start off him with Christine, who is his love interest in the movie, and
The movie.
basically they go to this. I guess he's gonna go accept this award, and they get in the car crash, and instead of his hands messing up, she dies. Right? She's in the car with him,
Mhm.
and so he has a time zone, and he's trying to fix it. He's trying to go back. He's trying to fix it, and every time he goes back, the same result happens. No matter what he does, the result's always the same. He tried not being with her, and she died. He tried taking her out to pizza instead, and she died. He tried
She got
letting her
shot.
drive.
Yeah, I thought that was the
She got
funniest
shot.
one.
That
They're
was
just
weird. Yeah,
they're
that
just
was kind
having
of
pizza,
weird.
and then this guy pulls up, and he's like, "I'm not trying to rob the place. I'm just gonna shoot this one
Now,
girl."
the thing that I don't understand, this is kind of like my big question of the episode, is that like, and you brought it up, like, does he have powers, right? Because he's able to go back in time, but like, why isn't he able to like protect her, right? Why isn't he able to like maybe put a spell on her or something to
Mhm.
like help her? Because I'm guessing what's happening, it just doesn't make sense. Like, he's
Well,
going back in
the,
time.
the ancient one explained it. Like, no matter, she is a constant point in time. He could literally do whatever.
No,
He
no, I
could
know
put
that,
a
but he's not
spell. He
trying that.
could have.
Like, he's
But what I'm
trying
saying is,
conventional
what I'm
means. He's not trying
that
like mystical things. You know what I
I
mean?
agree with that. But there was a point where he like, because I think there's no way that he could have done that at that point. I think because yes, he is still trying to change the timeline, but it becomes very what's the word I'm looking for? It becomes very muddy a little bit because um, while he's trying to change the timeline, I also feel like he's trying to abide by the laws of like him being the sorcerer supreme, which is
Yeah,
like, okay, he understands that he's forward in time to where he didn't have powers, so maybe he shouldn't be using his powers at this time.
I
You know what I
guess.
mean? Like,
I don't know. Like, he seemed to me, it would be like a desperate act. Like, I would have at least wanted him to try, and then like it not work
Yeah,
or
maybe after the
something.
first couple of tries, he should have tried something. Maybe send like open up a portal and they go to the mountains or whatever. But I do think that it's also in the equation that he can't just use powers in front of her out of nowhere. Like she'd freak out or it would cause a rift or something.
Right.
They could have
yeah,
they could have explained it better,
I could,
or
yeah,
it gave
they
us
could
a
have done that.
reason. But yeah, that was one thing that popped in my head whenever all that was happening. I just figured maybe he would, just put a protective barrier around them, or maybe he would just, like I said, open up a portal for them to go through,
Yeah.
I
or
just
something.
assumed
But
that I assumed that after like they showed like just a bunch of repeats over and over again, I just assumed that he tried everything.
hmm
Like
Right.
that's the way that I looked at it. Like they didn't need to show me every single thing that he
yeah, yeah,
tried to do to save her.
yeah.
So I just assumed that he tried everything that he could.
Right.
I was actually I was pretty happy that they, because in my head whenever it was doing each like scene, I was actually thinking to myself, you know what? Just don't show up. Like, she can't die if she doesn't leave the hotel or whatever.
That's what I thought too.
And then
I
he
thought
ended
the
up
same
doing that.
thing.
He was like, all right, I'm gonna go get a drink, and then she still died. It didn't matter.
The funniest one to me, actually, like you were talking about the funniest one. The funniest one to me was that they made it to the fucking thing, and then just like on the dance floor, she's like heart attack,
Yeah,
and like
she's like,
just
oh
dies.
shit,
Yeah,
And
that
I'm
was
like,
kind
what?
of dumb. It was
Like
weird,
what
dumb.
what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he figures that out, and I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because there was one key point that I wanted to bring up that was in my mind when they started presenting all this shit. Um, when we find out that the Doctor Strange that's absorbing all of these monsters. When we find out that there's another, when they mention that there's another one, that there's only he's only half of a person, I thought that we were gonna get our universe Doctor Strange, and I was like, oh fuck! Like I was like, what if this is like a tie-in to the MCU in a permanent way?
That would have
Um,
been sick.
yeah, but then yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. The ancient one basically said that she split one Strange into two, and they're in the same timeline, just in separate places or whatever. But but yeah, it I was freaking out. I was like, oh man, is he gonna like pull a Doctor Strange from a different universe to absorb him? Like, what if it's ours? And I kind of felt, whenever we do get that, well, I skipped ahead a little bit, but one last thing before we go back to explaining why the fuck this guy is so strong. I definitely felt like it was one-sided. The Doctor Strange that had been absorbing all these fucking mystic beasts and shit.
Well, yeah, he had so much power.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had a feeling right off the bat. I swear to God, I was like, oh, he's not winning. Like he's not
Yeah.
gonna win. Like you could put your face spell, whatever.
Yeah,
thing
they did
you
it
got
in a
his
really
face.
good way though, and we'll
Yeah,
go
they
into
did.
it for sure. But bro, you want to give like an overview of how we get to that point?
So basically, he gets desperate. He can't save Christine, and he starts going. They don't really explain this really well either, but basically, he's looking for a Kali Grostro, who is someone that has. They call it an absolute point. Basically, when someone dies, that's it. Like, there's no changing it. No matter what you do, you can't change it. Only one
Well, I
person
don't think it's
Well,
someone.
it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it's not necessarily.
It was just Christine in
somebody
general.
dying. Yeah, and it's not
Well, she said
necessarily somebody
the ancient one
dying.
said death. She said
Well,
death is an absolute point.
Well, yes, it is. Yeah, but she said it as in a way where it's a absolute point, meaning that there are other absolute points in the
Yeah.
universe
I think-
that aren't
I think-
necessarily
Okay,
death.
well,
Like
fine.
Christine's
One-
death
like-
is an absolute point because that's what makes Steven beat Dormammu in that universe. It's like
Yes.
that was her explanation of what an absolute point is for
so
his
like
his
so
situation.
like and an absolute point could be like, oh, I got up and I reached for my deodorant, and the reason that and all the like things that happened after I do that like create things that cannot be undone because it saves the universe or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's what creates the absolute point.
No, I think like what it is because what she's saying is, if Christine didn't die, you wouldn't have saved us from Dormammu.
Yes.
So basically, it's like a cause and effect. Like she died, okay, the events after that caused you to
Yeah.
save us from Dormammu, right?
Mhm.
But I think what she means by absolute point is basically of that person's timeline over. Like you can't go back and create more after it because that's when they're supposed to die.
Mhm.
That's it. And so no matter what you do, you can't change that.
I
And so-
I personally don't think it's death. I think the way I look at it is like, say Peter Parker was gonna try to make it to his date, but he missed the bus, and so he goes back in time and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna try to make that bus no matter what. I'm gonna run there like 2 hours early, but then the bus crashes. or then he tries again, and then the bus doesn't have any gas, and they don't leave at all. That's what
the
I'm trying
bus
to.
shows up
Yeah,
late,
I
or the
think I
bus
think
leaves
that's what
early.
this example of an absolute point is, where it's like
Yeah,
you cannot alter this specific course that's gonna happen for whatever it is. Like the universe decides, I guess. I don't think it's
Yeah,
just that.
All
it's
right.
not only death. It's
Agree to
just, yeah,
disagree.
it's like
Whatever.
you said.
We'll agree to
Yeah.
disagree.
Yeah.
Fine. So
But
anyways,
yeah, go ahead.
so he goes back and is looking for information on how to break an absolute point, and so he goes and finds Cagliostro, or his library, right? I guess his library
Yeah.
of things, and is able to find out that he needs to absorb mystic being to do this. And so he does that. He's able to he starts summoning like little creatures here and there. He doesn't want to. He's like, oh, let's go by slow. So
Shumagorath.
he kind of gets. All right, we'll get to that in a bit. All right, but he summons like a little gnome. Then he summons like a bird. And I thought this is where the animation really picked up. I really liked this. They were showing all these different creatures, right? They ended up showing like this man bat, this snake, this two-headed goat, and then Shumagorath. Which, all right, I'll concede this notion that Shuma, but whatever.
Look! If he comes out again, if we get the exact
well, okay,
same
so I'm
tentacle
gonna bring that
monster,
up. I'm gonna bring that up, but we'll have to talk about that at the end of the at the end of the episode, because the end of the episode kind of throw away that theory that we all have that everything's connected, but we'll get to it in a little bit. So, anyways, so he finally has power, but he's kind of like knows now that there's another Doctor Strange, and he needs to absorb him if he wants to be able to gain the absolute power to do it. And so this is where we're given the explanation by the Ancient One. Hey, like when I did what I did to separate them, I separated the timeline between that person individually, and so so now we saw it split, and now we're back with the good Doctor Strange, and he's starting to see the world is losing its the fabric of reality. Everyone's kind of disappearing and stuff, and this is where it kind of got really cool. I don't know if you want to finish off the episode, Gus, how it went.
Yeah. So basically, after the Doctor Strange, the misguided. That's how I'm gonna refer to him, as the misguided Doctor Strange. Finds out that after he obtains all these people, he finds out that he's actually been in he's actually stopped time around him for centuries, and that he's been in this fucking library for God knows how long. So after he figures this out, he talks to the librarian that he met when he first got to the library, and the librarian's like dying and he's old, and the librarian tells him, "You're only half of a man." And he's like, "Oh shit, like what do you mean by that?" And he's like, "Well, you should know what I mean." And then it cuts to another Doctor Strange on the same timeline, except this Doctor Strange doesn't decide to go looking for that extra help to bring Christine back. Instead,
Right.
he's just like, "Oh, you know what? You're right. Like, that's enough dwelling on the past for one day. Let's go make this tea or whatever." And he ends up getting in contact from or he goes outside and starts seeing everybody start to like fade away, and gets contacted by the Ancient One. The Ancient One basically tells him, "Yeah, when we were fighting, that basically I split two versions of you in the same timeline, and that when I fought you, I shot you with like a beam that like separated two versions of yourself. You have one that's like in centuries old. He's already over here, blah blah blah." And she tells him like, "I'm already dead. This is basically just like an echo version of me, but it's up to you. And I'm telling you this because I feel that the only way to stop you is you. So he I can't remember his assistant's name. What's the
Wong.
other sorcerers? Yeah,
Yeah,
Wong,
Wong.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wong basically is like deteriorating already. This part kind of confused me a little bit. I was like, because they showed everybody else outside in the world that was like disappearing, but they were like frozen, like they couldn't move or anything. Like they were just there disappearing. But like Wong wasn't. Like he was like disappearing yet still doing spells at the same
Yeah,
time,
I
and I'm
mean,
just like,
he was basically saying like, "Hey, you're running out of time," and he's like not feeling it, I guess, but like Strange is seeing it from him, like you're,
yeah, maybe. I
you know
guess
what
you're
I'm
right. Like,
saying? Yeah.
it's just, yeah, I'm being nitpicky, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where
I
I
just
saw
played
it
up
and
to
I was
like
kind of like,
he's mystically trained, so maybe he's
yeah,
more attuned
that's
to
what
it.
that's what I chalked it up to as well. When it happened, I was just like, oh man, I guess that makes sense. He's like trained in the mystic arts. Maybe he can like last a little bit longer than
Yeah,
like
yeah.
regular people. But anyway, so before Wong disappears, he casts a spell on Doctor Strange so that he is protected by the other version of himself. Essentially, what ends up happening is Doctor Strange, instead of trying to go look for his counterpart, the counterpart pulls him through through this portal in the floor, and he ends up going into, I'm guessing, a realm, or maybe it's the library. I don't really like the backdrop for this scene specifically is so dark that I
Yeah.
really couldn't tell exactly where they were at.
I'm pretty sure
But
they were in the library because that's where he was that's where
that's
he was summoning everybody.
Yeah, that's what I think too. But basically, he summons him to the library and just brings him up to speed on what's going on. Tells him like, "Hey, I figured out a way. I can make this happen. Don't you love her?" And the other, and the good Doctor Strange is basically telling him like, "Dude, it's not worth like the entire universe. Like, if you bring her back, the entire universe is gonna fail." Which honestly, and when I was watching the episode, like I couldn't believe, like, I don't want to say I couldn't believe, but I was like, dude, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna go off the cuff a little bit here, but I was like, looking at the screen, I was like, dude, are you fucking stupid? Like, are you like dumb? If you bring back Christine and the universe is destroyed, like, how are you supposed to live with her in like a reality that doesn't exist? Like,
Right.
do you not grasp that concept? But then
I think it's just the Doctor Strange nature of like, oh yeah, like that might happen, but I'll stop it. Like I'm gonna fix that too. Like and
Yeah,
he
they,
even
they
that
mentioned
even
that. They
should
say like
yeah
it's not, it's your arrogance to wanting to fix everything
yeah
is what's causing all
yeah,
this.
yeah, and I mean, it also really kind of drove home like how unhinged that Doctor Strange was as
yeah
well, because
at that
of
point
course, right, like I'm gonna think that because I'm not fucking crazy, but like
yeah
that Doctor Strange at that point already was completely off the rails, so of
yeah.
course he's not thinking about something like that. Um,
So
so they have a conversation.
something that I
Or go
want to
ahead.
mention real quick was so the evil Doctor Strange he has a little bit of help from this his name's like O'Brien or something like that, or O'Bane.
Oh, oh,
Oberyn?
Oberyn. I'm not too sure exactly what his name was, but he's there and he basically watches over the library or whatever. And it was really cool. It was a cool moment where Doctor Strange finds him and he's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And you see that he's like an older guy now. He's like aged tremendously. And then you come to realize that Doctor Strange has been absorbing and grabbing these mystical beasts for like centuries.
Yeah,
Uh,
like
yeah,
he's been doing it for years.
and
yeah,
it's fucking crazy. It was a cool way of showing just like how his descent into this like obsession really unfolded, and yeah, we got some really good, we got a good quote from this guy too, where he said something like love breaks the heart, or but it also like shambles your mind or something like that.
Yeah.
And
hmm
yeah, really interesting character to kind of like weigh out just exactly what Doctor Strange is doing throughout all this. And he tries to mentor him in some way, but it just doesn't get to him. Nobody can get to him. And yeah, it was so the quote here, it says, "Love can break more than your heart. It can also shatter your mind," and I thought that
Yeah,
was really cool.
yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah,
Um,
so he basically so they ended up meeting each other. Basically, he says, "Hey, we can save Christine. You need to we can do it together." And Doctor Strange's like, "Dude, wake up! The world is fucking dying. You know, we can't save her. It's over." And so they end up having this big ass battle. The animation is sick. I thought it was pretty much like a one-on-one. Like I thought the one-on-one was okay. Even the capes started fighting each other, which
Yeah,
that
was
was
kind of
cool.
cool.
Okay, that was cool as fuck. I was like, oh shit, even the fucking capes
that's
are
also
fighting.
when you knew it was over. Whenever the evil Strange fucking ripped the other cape in half with like the molten shit on his arms, I was like, "Yup, it's over. Like our Strange is fucking dead."
But like
He-
Yeah,
I don't know, cause like to me, I never thought like, oh, it's over. Like I always thought maybe he's gonna outsmart him in some way,
uh-huh.
because this is Doctor Strange that beat Dormammu, right? And he
Yeah,
had to outthink it to
yeah.
get out. He had to like loop him. And so I thought maybe like I don't know. I felt like art like the good Doctor Strange was kind of like nerfed or he was underpowered. I don't know what it
I
was.
don't.
I get like hold on. I get it. I get that the dark Doctor Strange had thousands and thousands of years or hundreds of years absorbing all these creatures, so he
Mhm.
had to be stronger, right? But I felt like he's the one that's desperate. He's the one that wants Christine. He's the one that doesn't have focus. And Doctor Strange that we know has focus and
Yeah,
have all these
I
things.
I would agree with you in most cases, but I think it like I mean you know me, I really enjoy stories that have sort of like a it's like a tragic ending.
Yeah,
And the thing is, I think the way they handled this, the way the story ends in this one, is very like they did a good job at us like the good guy losing, but they did it in a way that was like really nice. Like we had Doctor Strange get absorbed, and then he's talking to Christine, and she's just like, "Oh, you owe me a creme brulee, remember?" And he's just like, "Yeah, I know, but it's not you." And so we know that he never really like lost it when it comes to the the temptation, and that he was able to stay true to his path. Um, but yeah, it ends up being where he does get absorbed. So I like that. I like that they at least showed that scene where he's in this like realm with Christine, and that he's still being tempted by her, and he still says no even though he's already lost. And I think that there's like some kind of poeticness to it all.
yeah,
But but yeah, one thing that I wanted to point out before we go to the end, the complete end of it. Well, I guess this is at the end of it. While the fight was great and all that good stuff, and we have Wong's spell that was protecting him, which was really cool.
yeah.
I thought it was insane when the world starts collapsing around him, and Christine comes back, and then evil Doctor Strange ends up looking and talking to the Watcher himself. I thought that was such a badass moment, and I was like, holy shit! Like he's actually reaching out to this, you know, celestial being out in the fucking universe, and trying to bargain with him, saying like, hey, you could fix this. You can make punish me instead. Just get rid of me and fix this world and let Christine live. And the guy's like, no, fuck you. I'm not doing
Like
shit.
pretty much, right? Like he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I could, but I don't feel the need to, so no.
No, well, I don't know if he could, but because the way he phrased
No, he
it, kind
says
of.
like if I could, yeah, he says if I could and I could just punish you, I would.
Mhm.
But like he pretty much says like, because he says like they're safe, like I don't want to risk the safety of other universe to intervene. He says
Yeah,
like,
yeah. He
you
said
know,
it's something like where he's like, I cannot intervene. Like you of all people should know this and stuff like that.
right, yeah,
yeah. I thought that the reason why I thought that shit was cool was because to me that was a moment where a character from the entire universe. Like you're talking about the Watchers. Like the Watchers are there for everything, no
Mhm.
matter what it is. That includes like everything. So the Watchers being there and like interjecting in a what if alternate timeline and not even like, but also being there during the original timeline is kind of dope because it shows that there's yes, I understand that like the Watcher is obviously like an omnipotent, they're omnipotent beings. They have like a set of rules that they have to follow, things like that. But the fact that a character from the universe that is not supposed to be a part of this one is
Mhm.
is like interacting with somebody from a
Yeah.
universe that's like not supposed to really exist is crazy to me. That shit is insane.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I thought that was such a cool moment, and even then, like the evil Strange shooting those beams out to kind of halt the world from ending for just a moment to talk to him was it's just such a cool shot and such a cool moment. Um, and yeah, just overall the effects and the style of the animation, everything meshed so well. And like Broly mentioned earlier, when he was absorbing the Mystic Beast and his body was morphing for a moment, and even during the fight, it was just so it just immersive. Like you could feel like this guy was losing it while absorbing all these like and entities from different fucking parts of the world and universe.
One thing I
Uh,
wanted to point out also that kind of stuck with me as well was um and this is kind of a um what do you call it, a moment where it's the moment where he finally is able to change that point in time that's unchangeable and brings Christine back to life. But for the sacrifice, the rest of the universe around him and her is completely and utterly destroyed.
mhm.
And he looks like a fucking demon out of hell.
Yeah,
This
he's
dude,
a
it's like
mixture. He's like
he's
a fucking
not even he's
chimera of like
yeah,
everything.
he's not even Doctor Strange anymore. This dude is he's got like tentacles coming out of
This guy's
everywhere,
literally Mephisto
wings.
before we got
Yeah,
Mephisto.
seriously, like that to me was such a great scene because it showed how much of himself he had to sacrifice
And
for
for
this
what?
one
Yeah,
moment.
and it's like,
And
and for what?
exactly. And it's like, dude, you look like a fucking demon and you expect this girl to like fall in love with you and be with you when you're not even the person that she was in love with in the first place.
Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much how it ends. The world collapses upon him, and she fades away. And it's very reminiscent. Another sorceress, sorcerer, Wanda, the way she kind of had a breakdown after losing this person she loved. Um, it's pretty interesting to see how these magic users just fucking fuck up the world around them whenever they're in anguish.
I know. Don't
Um,
break that. If you ever date somebody who has magic powers, don't break their heart. They're just gonna destroy the universe, dude.
yeah,
Like that's all I've
exactly.
gotten from this.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so the world collapses on him, and it becomes this small little like shattered ball sort of deal. It's like a bunch of mirrors all at once,
Mm.
and he's just in this little capsule, and he like falls within himself and uh, just starts crying, and it's just like, damn, man, that ending was just dark.
And that's
Yeah,
the way it
I
ends.
mean,
I thought that was like I thought he created that like base for himself. I didn't know if that was like the act like the sphere that was like kind of hexagonal weird geometrical shape thing that
Yeah,
he was like encased in. I thought he created that and the darkness around him was the universe that completely destroyed. And
yeah,
in my
I could
head,
see that.
yeah, in my head it looked like okay, now he's trapped in this bubble and he just like exists in nothing for the rest
Yeah.
of
Or until it
forever, I
gives out,
guess.
like until his powers like just can't withstand anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was essentially the episode. Really, really enjoyable, really engaging, and it just for me, I was just captivated by the art style and the animation and the way he was able to show us this different path. Like the way Marvel was able to show us the different path was really really cool. Again, I think for me, I fall on the line of I like both. I like it when they take a movie we know and then do something different with it, and then I also like when we get just a whole brand spanking new adventure.
I agree with that.
And I think this is like the perfect equilibrium of like, here I really enjoyed episode
Hmm.
2 because of this reason, and then this one's like, oh, I really enjoyed this because of this, and so it's stick to that. Like if you're gonna follow a movie, make it this badass, and if you're not gonna follow a movie, make it very enjoyable, like the way you did in episode 2.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I'm a happy camper. But yeah, for me, I'm gonna give it like a 9. I think that was a great episode. The only parts that bring it down from a 10 for me is just the kind of glossing over of certain parts, like we mentioned with the beginning of the episode, um, and also just in general, like even the movie did it, where his ability to become the Sorcerer Supreme becomes very glossed over, and they kind of ponied up to, oh yeah, he's astral projection, and then he also has photographic memory, and he learned it. Like that I've always disliked that in both video games and movies and stuff, where all the learning and all of the actual expertise in becoming whatever they're trying to do is off screen. It kind of takes me out of it just a little bit. So those were my two big complaints. And
I mean, they're trying to say that he's a genius.
yeah,
So like, I kind of understand. The only thing I have a problem with like the movie, and I guess his character in general, is like he's trying to fix his hand. So it's like, does he ever fix his hands? Does he not? And is that like maybe a reason why he's not like he's good, but maybe he makes mistakes because of his hands, right? Like I thought that was something that they could have been doing, but like I'm not like the biggest Doctor Strange like knowledgeable person. Like I don't know everything about him, but like it just kind of seems like, oh, his hands hurt. They just gave him a reason to seek this out, and then it was kind of like whatever at the end. Like it was just like, does he really have injured hands, or does it even matter anymore, or whatever, right? Um, that's the only thing that kind of like I get from it is like why it's glossed over, but I understand why you bring it up.
yep.
Yep.
What do you rate it, Gus?
Um, honestly, I'm gonna agree with Vash. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. The only low points, again, I also agree with him, were just a couple of things that were glossed over. The explanation of the point in time that can't be altered. Also, just the gloss over of the whole I can never pronounce it.
Kelly
Kaga,
Grostro?
yeah, Calgagrostro, whatever, that dude. Um, so it's just small little bits and pieces. The only thing I don't agree with Vash in this particular thing is I don't mind when they gloss over stuff like that. Sometimes I'm very much like, okay, just get to the point, because after a while, and I mean this goes across all mediums. After you've played enough video games, after you've watched enough movies, after you've read enough comic books, whether they're the same range or not, you kind of already can make a picture in your head about how this character became who he is.
Yeah.
Um, so it's not necessarily, for me at least, it's not necessarily a detrimental aspect of the episode that I'm missing, or with the character, or in basically any medium. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, like, hey, I know how this is gonna happen. I know how this is gonna play out. I can already picture all of this in my head. Just give me the good shit. So I don't necessarily hate that too much. But again, that didn't ruin the episode for me at all whatsoever. The small parts that were glossed over, I can definitely look past them. It wasn't like it didn't make or break the episode for me at all. So I also give it a 9 out of 10 for sure. It's a fantastic episode, and honestly, it's probably my favorite episode in the series so far, for sure.
All right, and Broly.
Well, I mean, the episode was good. It did leave a badass impression to me. I did, get away from that thinking like this was a really good. I love the fight scenes, the the mistakes that were being shown, and like the warnings. Like the cool thing is like the regret, right? Like he sees what's happening finally. He sees like because he first gets triggered by Christine looking at him, and he's like this monster, and then he looks around and he's all like, "This isn't what I want. This is, I wanted her to be happy. I wanted her to live, but I also wanted her love again, and she doesn't love me basically. And now the world's turned to shit, and he's trying to save it, but it's too late. He has all this power, but it's not enough. And the Watcher's like, "You warned you, like you were warned this was gonna happen." And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. And that's all he's left with. He's just left with regret. And so, even though it was a dark episode and it had a dark ending, I think it's good to see what can really plague a person. I didn't like the split. I felt like it was a reason to have like a hero in the story, but I didn't like it. Like, if you're gonna have a split and you're gonna have the bad guy win anyways, or the evil twin win and grab him anyways, like what was the real point of it? Like it just kind of made it seem like we needed like a battle, right? We need a fight, and this obviously Wong isn't gonna fight him. Obviously, like the Matt Mikkelsen's guy is not gonna fight him, right? So we need someone to fight Doctor Strange, and so we'll just split the timeline and have them fight each other. Which obviously it was a great fight, but I didn't felt like the need of it was there. And
It would have been cool if it was the ancient one, but like I said earlier, I liked that they did something different with not just being like, oh, let's take a Strange from a different universe, let's actually split them, and without the viewers knowing, and then we can have some sort of reflectiveness on the guy.
I guess because you could admit too, like, oh, it was obvious he was gonna lose. So, I mean, with all that being said, really great episode. I give it an 8.5. I wanted to give it a 9, but I felt like I don't want to see the movie line. It's not a big gripe. It's just something that I noticed. Like I just want it to be something where, hey, we're gonna start the movie again, but something's gonna be different. I just kind of want to get something different. Look at episode 2. I still think episode 2 is the best one. Not just because of all the cast, but just because it's a different story. It doesn't have to do with Guardians. It doesn't have to do with, it's different. So 8.5 for me.
Sweet. All right.
Cool.
Well, that's it for us, guys. Thank you so much if you made it to this part of the video. Yeah, we're very much. I think we're gonna be back on track for the next one. Hopefully, I'm not too sure how everyone's feeling about next Tuesday.
Yeah.
But
I have a question. Are we
huh.
watching Shang-Chi this weekend?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, Broly and
Alright.
I are going for sure. So we'll probably talk about that either on, I don't know, Thursday night or Friday afternoon or wherever it comes out.
Cool.
And then I mentioned it before. It's gonna be one of these days, but I finished Invincible. We gotta fucking watch it. We gotta talk about it.
Every time we
Every
have a
time.
part,
Every time. Do it right now.
this.
Do it right now.
Yeah,
This is the end of this episode.
No, we could do it probably sometime this week, maybe before Shang-Chi. But all right, guys, thanks for watching. Just to let you guys know, we do these discussions live on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Vash. We try to do it as soon as the episode airs, right after we finish watching it. We talk about it. And yeah, we're gonna be doing Shang-Chi and I forgot what the next show is after that. I think it's Hawkeye.
Hawkeye or Venom.
Yeah, or any of those superhero stuffs or whatever we feel like talking about. But all right, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Peace.